Hi, and welcome to Season 4 of Beyond Teaching, brought to you by the Psych Sessions Network. This series is hosted by Susan Nolan from Seton Hall University, Adiyinka Akinseler-Smith from City College of New York, City University of New York, Asani Sewell from LGS Legacy Weight Diabetes Institute, and yours truly, Eric Landrum from Boise State University. For now. The Psych Sessions podcast Beyond Teaching is all about the teaching, research, and clinical skills that psychological scientists need to know about to be successful. You know, all the survival skills needed to thrive in the academic or clinical workspace beyond your formal graduate school training. All the stuff that we were never taught while we were in the graduate school classroom. For Season 4, we have 12 episodes in store for you, with a weekly release starting July 2022 and delightfully stretching into October 2022, helping you make that transition from summer to fall, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, that is, whether you are on the semester system or the quarter system. What's in store? We'll discuss the importance of staying up to date, helping students with personal statements and sparkbirds, student researchers, what a unionized campus looks like, a peek at the life of adjunct faculty from two different perspectives, interacting with the media, cleaning out your office, and it might not be one of the four of us you thought it would be, saying yes or no, and Maria Banford's advice about that topic, ascension and doctoral versatility, dealing with professorial conflicts, and taking tenure out for a spin, and career sustainability in the face of the Great Resignation, or what you might call the Big Quit. In Season 4, we also had guests join us for 3 of the 12 episodes. I'm not going to tell you who or which episodes. That way you'll be curious and you'll want to listen in order to satisfy that natural curiosity that you have. So there. Please enjoy Season 4 of Beyond Teaching. Well, welcome to another edition of Beyond Teaching. But we have a special treat. So I'm going to let us introduce our regulars and then we'll introduce our guest. I'm Eric Landrum from Boise State.
Asani Sewell, Pacific University.
And I'm Yinka Akinseler-Smith from the City College of New York, City University of New York.
I'm sorry, pardon me, Yinka. And what Susan did arrange for us before she went on her tropical vacay is that we have a delightful special guest with us. She is Lorraine. Oh, I'm gonna mess this up.
Lorraine Trippodi.
Trippodi. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And she is an adjunct faculty member at Seton Hall University. Hi, Lorraine. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you and I think the topic that we were assigned to talk about is work-life balance. And maybe we should always talk about that in air quotes. I think before we're done here, I am required to ask you about your most favorite decadent dessert. We'll come back to that. We can talk about anything you'd like. So Lorraine, if you would just tell us a little bit about what you teach at Seton Hall and how long you've been there, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Sure, thank you. So I'm an adjunct professor at Seton Hall. I teach psychology of gender. I feel really lucky. I feel like I get to teach one of the most interesting topics in the world. And it's always fun, always interesting, always new. Students are engaged with it as a topic. So I've been there about 9 years.
Okay. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so you said, it sounds like you have more than one hat.
I do. So I'm an adjunct at Seton Hall. By day, I'm also a teaching artist at a glass art studio in downtown Newark. We teach area kids how to make things out of glass. It's exciting and fun. So I'm really lucky that I get to do for a living are also things that are exciting and interesting.
So out of glass, do you mean like stained glass window type of glass, or?
We do everything from glass blowing to glass mosaics to flame working, which is what I usually do. We make beads and small glass objects. We melt them with a torch and make them into whatever we like.
So the kids love fire too, I would imagine.
Right. Kids love fire and danger and smashing things.
Oh my God. Hey, by the way,
I'm excited.
some adults do too.
I'm
I gotta
excited
tell
about
you.
this.
And although our listeners can't see this, did you make the object behind you in your Zoom?
I did not. The screen behind me is paper, but I did make the necklace I'm wearing.
Oh, very cool.
Oh,
Okay.
beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you.
very cool. So, Lorraine, you teach psych of gender. Are there any special challenges teaching that at Seton Hall, which is, if I remember, a religiously affiliated university, Catholic university?
Sure, yeah. So Seton Hall is a Catholic university, and I teach a class about sex and gender and psychology. And in terms of challenges, I think that the students are excited that they actually get to talk about sex and gender in my class. I think that it's great and it's fun for them to be able to explore that side of psychology that they might not have thought of signing up for when they came to Seton Hall. And the university is really great. We really have academic freedom. We can teach what we want. I haven't had anyone tell me not to say things or do things in terms of my class. So
That's great. I imagine with a course like that, you probably have majors and non-majors who are taking a class like that, which gives you some nice variety and perspectives.
correct. Yeah, it is a variety. And also my class was signed up as a I'm trying to think of the word. We have a diversity requirement at Seton Hall. So it meets the diversity requirement. So yeah, I get some psychology majors, some women's studies majors, and I get lots of biology, med students, occupational therapy students, students from all across the campus.
Lorraine, what level is it?
I think it's an introductory level.
So, Asani, you are an SHU alumnus,
I am.
alumni, excuse me. But you were an undergraduate more than 9 years ago. Am I getting that right?
Yes. Yes. More than 9 years ago.
I'm just asking. One should not make assumptions about these things. But did you take that class when you were an undergrad? Do you remember at all?
I have to say, I do not remember that class being offered when I
Okay,
graduated.
so maybe it's relatively.
Yeah. Are you the first one to teach the class as far as you know,
Someone
Lorraine?
someone did teach the class before me, but I think there was a break between them teaching it and me coming on. So
Mhm.
it may not have been there when you were there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And if I remember from Susan's notes that she shared, you are an award-winning adjunct faculty member at Seton Hall.
I am. I'm looking at the award now, Adjunct Faculty Teacher of the Year last year, which was
Oh,
really exciting.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, being an adjunct, we're kind of like the gig workers of academia. So I kind of feel like I show up when everybody else has gone home. There's not a lot of interaction with the other faculty most of the time. So that was really nice to be acknowledged by
That's
supporting
great.
at the university.
Lorraine, how did you come to join the faculty as an adjunct?
Sure. So most of my work in the field of psychology, I mean, I haven't been teaching artists for a long time. Most of my work was in the field of psychology, working with victims of domestic violence, of child abuse and neglect. I work with 9/11 families, domestic violence victims, and it was very stressful. It was really, emotionally, it takes a toll on you. And I did that for about 20 years. And when I had kids, I thought it would be great if I could teach instead of doing this emotionally intense work where I have to be on call all of the time. And teaching seemed like it would be better for my schedule with having a family, and also better for me and for them emotionally, just not having the burden of having I guess, the emotional weight of my clients on me all of the time while I was trying to pay attention to other things as well.
Lorraine, do you like and thrive and enjoy the gig nature of adjunct and art and adjunct in two worlds? Or if Seton Hall came around this summer and said, "Hey, we've got a tenure track assistant professor opening up. You'd be perfect for it. We want you to slot right in there." Would you grab that? Maybe it's unfair to ask you that, and you don't have to answer. Or do you just love it exactly where you're at and with the balance that you have now?
It's kind of a tough question. A big part of me would say, yeah, I would grab that. I would love to do that. I do also really love being able to be in two worlds and have two different, have my home life, have my art life, and have my Seton Hall adjunct life as well. It would be a tough choice.
Yeah, we have a colleague who is a lecturer, and the lecturer has a heavier teaching load, no research scholarship responsibility, and some service. And she could easily do the tenure track assistant professor gig, got her PhD, all that good stuff. But she purposely chose to apply for and get the lecture position because she didn't want to be on the research grind.
Mhm.
She chose to not take that route and wanted to be more teaching intensive. Now, it also meant less salary.
Yeah,
For better or for worse, there was a salary differential. And we all know there's a huge salary differential, even per course, for adjunct faculty compared to lecturers, compared to assistant professors. So some people make the choice and some people aren't given the choice.
right. I feel lucky that I'm able to make that choice, but
It is.
it is a big financial difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How many hours a week would you say that you spend with the teaching Seton Hall part of your work life and then with the artist part? Is it about
Uh,
relatively the same 50-50, or how would you
Yeah,
describe how
it's probably about 20 hours a week for each of them. Some weeks one takes more than the other, but most weeks it's probably about 20 hours for each of them. But then if you add together my two salaries, they don't add up to a full-time salary. So
right?
then it's
Right. Probably a full-time salary on the East Coast. Yeah. I'm in Boise, Idaho, where things are a little bit different. Yeah. I would imagine, do I want to go there? Does that, I won't ask about you. Does that in general tend to make adjuncts a bit resentful over time?
um,
That gig economy, I think, takes it out on Uber drivers and door dashers. I think that's a hard way to make a living.
sure. I think if being an adjunct were my only way of making a living, I probably would feel resentful. If it's sort of an add-on to another career or another job,
Right.
then it, it can be really nice. It's a great way to keep sort of your, I don't know, professional tools sharpened so that you feel like you're still part of something bigger.
Yeah, you look like you were going to go there.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm still
No,
formulating my
no,
question.
that Lorraine, that you've hit on exactly right. I think the original model of adjunct faculty was kind of what you just articulated, that the faculty have an absence of expertise, and you go out in the local community and you find someone in the local community to backfill for that. It wasn't meant, I don't think the original incarnation of adjunct faculty was meant as cheap labor. You've got 6 sections of intro psych, you need 2 more. We'll go find 2 local people with PhDs who just desperately need the money, and we're going to manipulate and just, use them and not pay them a decent wage, and we're not going to pay them benefits, and just just not be good to them. That's not the initial incarnation. It was to maximize the expertise in the community that a department didn't have. But that I'll speak for Boise State. That's not the model of how we use it.
So Susan actually was the person who offered me the job, and when she first asked me, it wasn't to teach psych of gender; it was abnormal psychology. And when I was thinking about it, I thought back to my professors when I was an undergrad, and the professors that I liked the most, who I learned the most from, were those who had their own practice or who did work in the
Yes.
community in addition to teaching. And I thought, how can I bring what I've learned working for 20 years with victims of trauma to my teaching? So I really kind of made that a focus, that I could bring them the expertise that I had from my experience, what I didn't learn myself at school, what I had to learn on the job. I tried to bring some of that to what I was teaching, and it made the classes definitely more interesting for me to teach, more interesting for the students to hear how psychology can be used in the field. So,
Mhm.
I think you're so right about that. When I think about the teachers that I had, professors that I had that still stand out all these years later, more than 9 years later, out of being out of Seton Hall.
If I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to
Oh,
make it on the
20.
rather than the later end. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it was those faculty who could really talk about sort of real world experiences, experiences, things like that, that sort of brought what was in the textbook to light, you know. So I'm sure that's what the students really love about what you do. And part of the real reason why you won an award too is that you're able to speak from the
mhm.
depth of knowledge, you know, over many, many years of doing that work in the community. So it's not just a textbook example. It's like, here's how this happened in the field for me, for sure.
Sure. I also feel really glad that I get to speak some stories that don't usually get spoken, whether it's in textbooks or in classes, the stories of, the domestic violence survivor, the stories of
Mm.
sexual assault victims that tend to get hushed up, that, don't come to light. I felt really happy that I had, a way that I could express what I was seeing that was suffering in the world. a way to express it to people who could hopefully go forward in the future and do something to change it.
Yeah.
Lauren, something you said that this is all very good that I'm kind of sitting with is just how you don't always have interaction with the rest of the faculty.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you can speak a little bit more about that and how to navigate it. I mean, suggestions for those of us who are full time and don't always, like you're not at the faculty meetings.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the psych department at Seton Hall has been really great. They've kind of reached out and included me in some things that they were working on. They had a DEI committee, diversity, equity, inclusion, and they asked if I would sit in on some of the meetings. And during COVID, when I was home and my wife was home and my kids were home, we were all working from home, doing school from home. I had the time that I could participate, and it felt really nice to be included in that way.
Mhm.
You know,
That's
this is a important and tricky topic because, and we struggle with this as well. So we want to include our adjuncts in more things, but we're already underpaying them. So asking them, hey, come to a relevant faculty meeting. Hey, lend your expertise on an occasional committee for free. That's like
Mm.
adding insult to injury. Like, I
no.
don't want to do that as a department chair. So one thing that we did last summer is that we hosted a adjunct faculty workshop, a 1-day workshop, and we paid every adjunct who wanted to attend $500.
That
And
sounds
so,
fabulous.
and so at least if you're going to give us your time for some training at Boise State, and they can attend via Zoom or in person. So we tried to make it as convenient as possible. So we know we're underpaying our adjuncts and we don't have control over the pay rate. There's a couple little things we can do from time to time, but not a lot. But we organized a social event a couple years ago for actually a couple of them, every full-time faculty, every part-time faculty, every adjunct faculty, and only a couple adjuncts came. And I get it. We're already asking them to do so much. So to ask them to come to something else, even if we're going to buy them dinner, is still a big ask. So it's always this push pull of wanting to include them, but feeling guilty for asking them to give us their time for free.
And there's a push pull for us too. So for this semester, with my kids going back to school in person, with my other job ramping up after being, virtual with COVID, I haven't had time to be on that committee this year, and I feel frustrated by it too. But we also have to be realistic about how many things we can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think for adjuncts, I think a department could find $500 or $1,000 for a stipend for an adjunct faculty. And you might still have to say no, because that's not enough to offset the thing that you're going to do during that same time to earn money in a different way or to do something that you want to do in a different way. But I I'm a little bit skeptical or cynical. I think colleges and universities have money to do the things that they want to do.
Mhm.
And deans and provosts have drawers in their offices that are just full of account codes of money. And when they have a pet project, they find the money. We want to pay adjuncts to do things. We find the money.
Mhm. And there are lots of ways that adjuncts could be included or could participate.
Yeah.
And
So
that we're not to lunch or dinner is also nice too.
By the way, one more quick thing. We give our adjuncts free parking. We give them an account code to pay in our parking garage, so they don't have to buy a $400 parking pass for the year.
And that would be nice. Seton Hall.
Mm. So advice to would-be adjuncts?
I guess my advice, I don't want to sound trite or corny, but find the joy. Think about the things that you love about your field that you want to communicate to students. Finding the joy is a good way to maintain your energy level and to make it meaningful for you and for them.
Lorraine, do you ever? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask Lorraine if you have any thoughts or ideas about how to find a bit of balance between the adjunct teaching, the other hats that you kind of wear, and where you've sort of landed with that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
That's a good question. Sure. So actually, before we were talking, I was driving my kids from school to Hebrew school, and I asked them, I said, you know, people are going to ask me questions about work-life balance. What do you think I should say? And my daughter said, don't work 6 days a week. And I think that's really good advice, actually.
Very wise.
Right. One of my daughters noticed that I was teaching classes on the weekend and I was teaching classes Monday through Friday. And she said, "You're working 6 days a week now. You should work 5 days a week." And I thought,
Mm.
she's probably right. I should try to find a way to compensate for that and not go in during the week or cut down on the weekend classes, do something to make sure that I'm prioritizing having a break. Taking a break's really important.
Can I ask how old's your daughter? Who said
I
that?
have 11-year-old twins.
I
They-
predict in about 3 years, they're going to be saying, "Mom, why aren't you working 6 days a week?" There might be an attitude flip,
Right. Unless they need a ride somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, then by the time they get to be 16, it'll be,
Oh,
"Oh, Mom, just give us the car. You don't need to take us anywhere."
I'm not even
You don't need to go anywhere.
yet.
Working.
Oh, what did you say, Yinka? I missed it.
I said, you don't need to go anywhere. Keep working.
Oh, keep working. That's right. 11-year-old twins. One is like 1, 2 is like 10. That's what I've heard.
It's true. But they're great.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just got
Balance is this thing that we have to constantly be working on. The work-life balance piece. It's not like a destination that we arrive at. Like, oh, now I've got the work-life balance and here I will always stay. It's something that you have to work
Nice.
on. And sometimes work sort of creeps in over time. Have you noticed that for yourself? It sounds like you were working 5 days, for example, and now it happened to be 6. So, when that does happen for you, sort of what levers do you pull to sort of get yourself back to a sense of balance?
So, well, one thing I learned being a trauma therapist was that you have to take care of yourself to be good at your job. So if I'm taking care of other people at the expense of myself, then I'm not going to be a good therapist and I'm not going to be a good counselor. So I really made sure that when I left work, I went to the gym, I did yoga, I went for a walk, I did meditation. I had to do things that would help me to be grounded so that I could be better at what I wanted to do when I was at work. So I try to take that with me now as well. When I had the twins, when I was pregnant with the twins, I was thinking already, I'm not going to be able to do the heaviest work. I want to do different work so that I can be there for them as well. And I still try to make sure I fit in the exercise, the yoga, the walking, the meditation, the things that are going to help me to be grounded. And when I see that I'm skipping yoga or meditation, I know that I need to pull back somewhere else because that has to be a priority if I want to be a healthy person. I think right out of college, I didn't have that mindset. I felt like I was going to go save the world. I have all this great knowledge and information. I'm going to go save the world. And you have to save yourself first. You have to put your oxygen mask on first if you're going to help anybody else.
So let's go there for a minute if we can. So Lorraine, what tips would you give to faculty and students listening to this who were still struggling with pandemic-y issues for self-care? I think you've mentioned a few just there in your last comment, but what are the top tips you give to your students and to faculty who are around you about self-care?
Sure. I mean, one of the things that I've learned from my clients is that basic things like taking a walk can be really, really therapeutic, really helpful. If you feel like your mind is overloaded, like you're stressed out, you're overworking, or you just have too much on your plate, schedule a walk. Schedule it in with as much importance as you schedule in a meeting with your advisor or a meeting with anyone with your boss, because it's really important to fit that in. And just the act of walking, whether you're thinking when you're walking or doing walking meditation or just enjoying your environment, the simple act of walking really helps you to clean out your inbox, to calm down your mind and your nerves and be able to focus in a better way.
Great. Thank you. If only walking did clean out my inbox, I'm telling you, if you've got that app, I'll subscribe.
Oh, I got to get someone to develop that app.
Yeah, that would be great. Did your daughters say anything else to mention when you were going to be on this podcast? Or?
They said, don't work 6 days a week. And they also said they like it sometimes when I go to work. They are old enough now that they do like it sometimes when they get some more privacy and less mom time. But I think it's good for all of us to have things that we do on our own and things that we do together as a family. And this Sunday I decided I'm going to take them with me to work when I go into the glass studio. So they're going to get to come in and be part of my work and be my helpers. So doing things like that also, it's a way to bring the two together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of that balance that Asani was mentioning. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I that balance changes over time. When they were younger, I'm sure it was a different balance. My
Mhm.
kids are 31 and 27, and the balance changes over time.
Mm. And there are going to be times where you have to sacrifice family time or you have to sacrifice something and just sort of being aware of it happening and pulling things back and saying, I can do this for a couple of weeks, but then we need to pull back and take better care of whatever got neglected last week or the week before.
That's right.
Do another 10 loads of laundry to make up for last week.
Yeah, right.
I have told people, and none of the three of you may agree with this, but I've been known to say you can have it all in your life, just not at the same time. I've never had it all, but I think probably when my life is done, I will probably have had it all at different points along the same timeline. So
Mm.
Lorraine, I do have another question, which is I'm just sort of reflecting about the work that you've done with survivors of various kinds. And it's really making me think of all of us as we're sort of coming out of this COVID moment. Who knows if we're coming out fully and it's all done or, whatever. But I really do believe that in some degree we've all experienced some level of vicarious trauma, either direct trauma, right, or vicarious trauma probably over the last couple of years or so. And I'm thinking about that as you're talking about balance and meditation and yoga and all these various things. Do you also find a bit of a message for like everyone kind of in this moment as we are sort of emerging from the last couple of years where we've all experienced some degree of trauma, certainly very, very high levels of stress and what that means in terms of balance and finding our center again?
Sure. I mean, everyone's trauma level after the pandemic is different. Some people lost immediate family members. Some people just knew about friends and relatives who lost someone close to them. My children know that we lost some people, that our friends and family lost members of their family to COVID. And that's very stressful for them too. All of us are feeling that stress. And there's also this sort of push to go back to normal, to go into the office, to go to wherever you're supposed to go, to bring the world back to what it was before. And I think that we need to give ourselves some space and, you know, just do small things like take a walk, make sure that you eat, make sure that you're getting enough sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, why? And how can you rearrange things so that you can? And if you can't sleep or you're too anxious, reach out for help. There are lots of places that you can reach out for help. And I think that at this point in time, it's really important that people reach out if they need help.
Yinka, a lot of the things that Lorraine's been talking about kind of remind me of some things you've mentioned in your work with refugees. It seems like a lot of the trauma type situations. Is that fairly accurate or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the impact of trauma on body, mind, belief systems. And then, of course, there is the component of COVID. And now what's further triggering for at least my population is what's going on in the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's people are watching, seeing, hearing, sometimes a little too much, and just all kinds of feelings of guilt and sadness and horror. Yeah.
Sure. And anyone who survived trauma is more deeply impacted when they when they witness another trauma. That's what's happening to someone else. It impacts them very deeply.
Yeah, they relive it, don't they? And they start to re-feel it and they start
Mhm.
to re-experience even some of the symptoms.
Mhm.
So doubling and tripling down on all our self-care practices sort of seems
Oh,
like
so
something that we could all utilize right now. Like whatever was the thing that you were doing before or maybe not doing, like do more of that,
time.
do
Yeah.
more of that.
Does that
Yeah.
bring us full circle to desserts? Is that where you're heading, Asani?
Yeah, what is this delectable dessert thing we wanted?
It was a silly distraction in an email thread, the kind of thing I tend to do. So we'll close out on this unless one of you has something serious to add here.
No, we're ready for dessert.
All right. So without disclosing too much, your favorite dessert. Let's see. I'll go first. Probably French silk pie.
I have too many. I have just too many.
Okay, the last one you
Pick
enjoyed.
one.
The last
You
one I
don't
enjoyed was a new one that I actually made and tried. It was the New York Times, a Bailey cream pound cake.
Mm.
So delicious.
Mm.
Mm.
Pretty
That
impressive.
sounds really
That
good.
little dollop of vanilla ice cream.
Yum. I'm gonna say for me, and this might sound really basic, but I just love a good carrot cake. When it's nice and moist, has the
Mhm.
right balance of carrots, nice creamy frosting. I just think that that's just so delicious. Just love it. And I don't make it, I get it out, but I do love a good slice of carrot cake.
Mm.
Yeah, I love carrot cake too. My favorite food is pie, and I love all kinds of pie. I think my very favorite would probably be either cherry or strawberry rhubarb, but any kind of pie. It's a big hit with me.
Okay.
Yum yum.
Well, thank you for joining us for this special
Thank you
episode
so
of
much.
American Bake Off. Uh, no, seriously, thank you, Lorraine, for joining us, talking about your work-life balance, the role of adjunct faculty. I don't know the national data, but I know on many campuses, they're teaching more than half of our credit hours. Adjunct faculties are critical parts of higher education today. And at Boise State, we couldn't do it without you, literally. So
Yeah.
thank you. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.
Nice to meet you.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.